Hi, my name is Angela. I'm currently a third-year pharmacy student. Today, to start off my videos on this channel, I want to talk about why I chose pharmacy, a little bit about my journey. Really back when I was in high school is when I decided I wanted to choose pharmacy. So I want to talk about kind of how I did that, things that mattered to me when it came to choosing a career in healthcare and choosing pharmacy, and just a little bit about my own personal experience. So if you're interested in that, just keep on watching. So I come from a family that has a lot of healthcare influence, and so I have two brothers who are actually physicians, and there was a lot of healthcare influence when I was growing up. They both went through their training and residencies. They're older than me, so they went through their training and residencies while I was still in middle school and a little bit of high school, so I kind of got to see what it was like for a medical student. And it really deterred me and made me really not want to go into medical school, watching them go through their experience. So from a young age, I was very much closed off on the idea of being a doctor, as in being a physician. And later on in my college and even pharmacy years, when I tried to think about too, like taking down those walls and just realizing that maybe I was somewhat traumatized by their experience, and really just realizing that that was just my opinion at the time, and thinking about it again as a career, I still felt that the training and the things they had to go through were things that I really didn't want to experience, and that was something early on. I knew that being a doctor just wasn't in the cards for me, but I'll talk a little bit about more about that later. Technically, pharmacists are doctors. We do have a doctorate of pharmacy, but when I say doctor, I'm just going to be referring to physician doctor. I didn't want to be a physician and go to medical school. But definitely with their healthcare influence in my family, with my two brothers, I definitely thought that healthcare was something interesting and something that definitely would be in my future potentially. I really enjoyed chemistry and biology. Those were probably my two favorite classes growing up, both in grade school, middle school, high school. They were the most interesting subjects to me and the subjects that I did the best in. Math really was not my strong suit, so that was something that helped narrow down other career paths. But it was about junior year of high school where I really thought, okay, I need to decide, because I wanted to have senior year be the year that I applied to colleges geared towards the career that I wanted to have. So I chose my college based on if it would help me prepare for pharmacy, because that junior year is the year that I decided that I wanted to go into pharmacy and one day be a pharmacist. So I did a lot of online research into the areas of healthcare and what different jobs are included. You have nurses, you have, I thought very strongly about nurse anesthetist, and I thought about being an anesthesiologist, just different things in healthcare, different jobs, and I wanted a career that was challenging but not overwhelming. So I thought that being a physician, being a doctor was very overwhelming to the point that I probably couldn't handle it, or I really would have more of a negative experience than positive one. One thing I think about when I think about being a physician, I think that you just need such a passion for healthcare and medicine that it allows you to get through those really difficult experiences. So I am very passionate about health, and I definitely enjoy healthcare and learning about it, but I feel like to undergo such a rigorous training, you have to have a real drive for it, and you have to really want it and really appreciate everything that goes into it. So that was something that I realized I needed to kind of have a stopping point in my education. I didn't want too much of an education or too long of a training, because I didn't feel like I could go the distance, if that makes sense. I do love healthcare. I love helping people through healthcare and health, but I knew that there was a limit that I could have. So I wanted something that would give me a lot of challenging work and something that I could kind of, sink myself into, and it would stay interesting, but would have a limit, and I could able to say, okay, I can step back, and I don't have to always be engrossed in my career, if that makes sense. So I thought about a lot of different careers, and I was really kind of floundering. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of online research, but one of my brothers, who was one of the physicians, approached me and said, hey, I think pharmacy might be a good career for you. There's a lot of women in pharmacy. They have a really good pay. They can go part-time. If one day you want to have a family, you can go part-time. And it's a career that seems to be, really a really solid career. And there's a 4-year, doctorate program, and then you can do your undergraduate. And so that seemed to really fit my goals as far as not too much training. A job, from what I knew from pharmacists, they don't have an overwhelming schedule. They can kind of go home and live their life and then go back to work. It's not always inside of their, personal life too. They just can separate it a little bit more easier and have a better work-life balance. So I thought, okay, that seems like a good idea. So I did online research, what does a pharmacist do? what kind of pharmacy areas are there, what's the job like, and online research was okay. I'm going to link a website below that's really, since being in pharmacy school, it's a really good website just to learn more about pharmacy, the careers, the options, what they entails, and I wish I would have found that when I was in high school and in undergrad as well, but I don't know if it was around then or since being in pharmacy school I found it, so I'll post that below. But after the online research, I still thought I didn't really know what pharmacy was. So I wanted to do some shadowing. People had recommended to me to shadow. And so I first went to a retail pharmacy, and I was able to shadow for a couple hours just to see what the workflow of a pharmacy was like, to see, how that community setting worked. And that was really helpful. I had a lot of questions and pretty much stood there the whole time, just wondering what things were. I asked a couple questions, and I found out eventually that even my questions didn't make sense to me. So I basically just observed. But the pharmacist there was really nice, as well as everyone, all the technicians were nice and showing me what they did. And then I shot out a compounding pharmacy where I didn't really observe the pharmacist too much. I really just spent time with a technician who showed me how she compounded different medications, and then the general businesswoman of the, one of the managers, I believe, of the business just told me how their business worked, what the pharmacist did, what the techs did, and kind of how they operated their business. So that was a little bit better experience, the compounding pharmacy, just because they kind of showed me back to the basics relating chemistry to medications. It was just less of a package. It was more of just how do we make this. And so that helped me learn more about how chemistry and biology would fit into pharmacy, I guess, when I was in high school. And then the last setting which I shadowed in was the hospital setting. So I was fortunate enough, one of my physician brothers knew the pharmacy manager at the hospital he was doing his residency at. So I was able to shadow her for about 2 or 3 hours. And that included sitting in on some meetings and getting to round a little bit and see the hospital. I'd never been in a hospital, really very limited experience. So that was just very, very interesting, very new. It was even more new than the kind of pharmacy I would picture, such as a retail setting. So I had even more questions and knew even less. It just felt very foreign, but it was a great experience. So after I had shadowed about 3 places, I still kind of didn't really know what pharmacy was, but I felt better than I had about any other career. Looking at the options, looking at the training, it seemed to fit. It seemed really a good option. So I decided to go with it. It was a leap of faith for sure, because I wanted to feel more secure in what a pharmacist did and kind of what I would be going into and what my life would be like. But I knew I wanted healthcare, and I knew I wanted a job that would fit my personality. I'm someone who's typically have been called organized and someone who's kind of detail oriented, and those are things that I'd read that a pharmacist really is known for or works well with that career. It's definitely checking and balancing things and making sure that everything's in line when it comes to complicated drug regimens, and also looking for errors and looking for mistakes. Those are things that really being organized and being detail oriented helps with. And I just knew that I wanted a career in healthcare because I'm passionate about health, just, diet, exercise. I love those things, but I also love the fact that we're helping people with their health, curing their disease or manage their diseases. And I wanted to have a job that I had a direct impact, or somewhat of a direct impact, I guess. I really didn't know any pharmacists personally. At the time, one of my brothers had a girlfriend who was in pharmacy school, so I got to ask her some questions, but I was still very ambiguous going in. I didn't really know what to expect. But I would say that probably spring year of my sophomore semester, I definitely realized, okay, this is the right profession for me. This is what I want to do. After working in a pharmacy, which I'll go into in another video, kind of like my pre-pharmacy experience, my courses, my work experience. And I felt like I really had made the right choice. And it really wasn't until my first semester of my second year of pharmacy school that I was absolutely sure that this was a career for me, or this was one of the best careers I could have chosen. So if you're someone who's kind of debating pharmacy, it worked out for me. It ended up being something that I really slowly grew to know that it was my career, my profession, something that I'll be really, really proud of to be involved in, and something that I knew would fit me very well and fit my goals. I respect physicians a lot, and I don't want anyone to think that just because of the things I described that everyone who goes through med school goes through an awful experience and that no one should do it. I have a lot of respect for physicians because they take on a lot of liability, a lot of responsibility when it comes to caring for a patient. Another thing I thought about when I was thinking between pharmacy and being a physician is just that It's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of weight having someone's lives in your hands. Probably surgery is the thing where you have the lives mostly in your hands, but even just being a physician to someone, being their doctor, has a lot more responsibility, and that's something that really would weigh on me, and I felt that it was something that I couldn't quite handle mentally, if that makes sense. So just really put yourself in the eyes of the person doing the job and see if that could be you, and see, put yourself in their shoes and see if you could handle the kind of responsibilities that they can handle. Because even looking now as a pharmacy student, I'm still glad I made the choice that I made. I respect the people out there who can do that kind of job. We need those people, but it was just something that I really felt was too much for me. And so I think if people kind of really sink into that and make sure, it'll help prevent mistakes in the future of choosing careers that maybe, they thought they could do it, but they couldn't. Of course, you can overthink things, but that was just something I did think about, and it really did kind of make me realize what I could and couldn't handle when it came to jobs. So just to conclude, I really, really like this area of healthcare. I really like pharmacy. I feel like it's something that is complicated, but it's also kind of narrowed because we are an area that touches all the areas of healthcare, but yet we are still reserved to medications and also chronic disease management and other things, but we're focusing on the medications, and it's able to be focused, and I felt like I could go into a career that I was able to focus on something and kind of hone in my attention and my skills too. And as someone who was considering pharmacy, I knew that they were someone who was trusted, someone who was respected in the healthcare field. So I like that pharmacy carries that with it, and we still are a profession where patients and other healthcare providers trust us and trust our knowledge. So I definitely think I made the right choice. If you have any questions, definitely post below, but I think it's a great career, and I hope that you consider it. And that's all for this video, so thanks for listening.